Okay, so conquering the tech world, huh? Ambitious. I like it.
You shared this excerpt from Crossing the Chasm. Smart move, because honestly, Jeffrey Moore, he basically wrote the playbook on launching tech to the masses. But he's also got some pretty, well, cautionary tales in there, this whole
Yeah.
chasm thing.
Yeah, the chasm. It's a real thing, trips up a lot of companies. They see some early success, maybe they get that TechCrunch feature and then boom, hit a wall.
It's funny you should say that. Everyone warns you about that wall.
Ugh.
You're cruising along, selling like hotcakes to those early adopters, and then suddenly, crickets. So how does Moore explain that phenomenon? What's the deal with that?
Well, he says a lot of companies fall for this, what he calls the high-tech illusion, this idea that tech adoption is just this smooth upward trajectory, like everyone's just, I don't know, patiently waiting their turn, but it's not like that at all. It's way more fragmented.
Oh, absolutely. So it's not as simple as build a cool product and they will come.
Not quite, no,
Okay.
not quite. Remember those AI companies back in the 80s?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cutting edge tech, attracting like Fortune 500 clients. Everyone thought they were on the fast track to, well, dominance.
But they were all still chasing those early adopters, right? The visionaries.
Yeah.
The ones who get excited about the bleeding edge, even if it's not even quite market ready.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's kind of the crux of the chasm right there. The visionaries, they're driven by the dream of the tech.
That's right.
The potential it unlocks, all that. But the majority of the market, the pragmatists, as Moore calls them, they're a different breed.
Pragmatists, meaning they need to see that practical value, right? The return on investment before they're willing to jump in. So if the visionaries are speaking a different language, what is it that really resonates with those pragmatists?
Proof. Social proof. They need to see other pragmatists, people like them, successfully using and recommending a product. I mean, think about it. Are you more likely to try a new restaurant because, I don't know, some tech-obsessed friend raved about it, or because it's got like hundreds of five-star reviews from, regular people?
The reviews, for sure. Way more than some techie friend. There's a level of trust there, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the problem with relying on visionaries to bridge the chasm, right? They're terrible references for that pragmatist majority. They don't value the same things. They don't have the same concerns. It's, I don't know, it's like trying to sell a luxury sports car to someone who's really prioritizing fuel efficiency and cargo space. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not going to compute.
Different sales pitch, for sure. For sure. So those AI companies, were they essentially like using the wrong sales pitch on the majority of the market? Is that what did them in?
In a way, yeah. I mean, they hadn't figured out how to translate that early visionary excitement into something tangible, relatable for the pragmatists.
Hmm.
And without that, yeah, they were stuck on the wrong side of the chasm. Their growth, well, it's stunted.
So those poor AI companies, they just kind of plummeted into the chasm.
Uh,
Man, that's a grim picture. How do you even start to bridge that gap? Where do you even begin?
well, more, he says that first step is actually, it's kind of counterintuitive. You need to narrow your focus.
Wait, really? Narrow it. I would think you'd want to like expand your reach as much as possible. Cast a wider net, right? Isn't that how it works?
It seems counterintuitive, I know, but remember those pragmatists we were just talking about?
Right, right.
They don't really buy into hype. They buy solutions. So instead of trying to be everything to everyone more, he suggests you laser focus on a specific niche market first. You find that group with a really, really specific pain point, something that your tech solves better than anyone else, and you go all in on them.
So you become the like undisputed champion of solving that one specific problem.
Exactly. Exactly. You want to be the go-to solution for that niche. It's about quality over quantity, especially in those early days, for sure. And it's not just about, the core tech itself either. It's about crafting the whole product.
Okay, the whole product. That's one of those Moorisms. I'll be honest, it's stuck with me. I'm always thinking whole product this and whole product that. So it's not just the like gadget itself, it's the entire experience.
Right, right. Think about the iPod back when it first came out.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't just a better MP3 player.
Right.
It was the iPod plus iTunes plus that sleek Apple design, the easy to use interface. Like it was all perfectly tailored to appeal to a specific kind of music lover.
Yeah, it was the whole like package deal. You were buying into an ecosystem, not just a device. Whereas, some of those early MP3 players, it was like, yeah, the tech was cool, but you had to jump through hoops just to get music onto the darn thing.
And that's the difference, right? Pragmatists, they don't want hoops.
Yeah.
No, they want that seamless, that integrated solution. And Moore breaks this whole product down into four components, right? You got your generic product, so that's your core tech. Then the expected product, those basic features the market kind of already expects. Then there's the augmented product. That's where you add those wow factor differentiators. And then finally, the potential product, those future enhancements.
So you're not just selling what it is now, you're also selling what the promise of what it could be. I like it. But how do you figure out the exact recipe for that whole product for your specific target niche?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. So Moore uses this example of an ebook reader,
Okay.
but not just for your average, bookworm. He's talking about an ebook reader for, get this, aircraft mechanics.
Okay, now that's niche.
Right.
Yeah.
So the generic product is the e-reader itself.
Right.
But the expected product, that needs to factor in their environment. It can't be some delicate thing that's going to break if drop it once.
We're out on the tarmac, not exactly curled up in a reading nook.
Yeah. Exactly. So then the augmented product, maybe that's, I don't know, instant access to this vast searchable database of repair manuals, maybe even some augmented reality features for diagnostics.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's where you really start to go above and beyond to solve those very specific problems that niche has.
Okay, I see how you're tailoring that whole product to the niche, but building all of that, especially those like extra features, that sounds like a massive undertaking.
It can be. It definitely can be. And that's why Moore, he really highlights the importance of partnerships. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you partner with a repair manual publisher, a software company that specializes in AR, maybe even a rugged case manufacturer. There are options.
So you're pulling together the best pieces from all these different players to create that ultimate solution for your niche.
Yeah, and that's also where that potential product that comes into play too. You're communicating this roadmap not just to your customers, but to potential partners. You're saying, hey, this is where we're going. This is the vision. Are you in?
So even if the product isn't totally, completely there yet, you're selling the trajectory, that commitment to growth. I like this. This is smart. But I have to ask, even with the perfect, like, airtight whole product, how do you actually break through the noise? How do you convince those pragmatists that you, this new company they've never even heard of, that you're the one to trust? How do you do that?
And that, my friend, is where Moore gets really interesting. He says you need to create the competition.
No, you're just messing with me, right? Create the competition. God, you're messing with me, right? That doesn't sound right.
It sounds a little crazy. I know. But Moore's point is that pragmatists, they really crave context. They're looking for those familiar comparison points, something to help them make sense of this newfangled tech you're throwing at them. Okay. So instead of shying away from the competition, you lean into it. You frame it in a way that highlights, your strengths.
So don't pretend the competition doesn't exist. You embrace it. How does that even work?
Well, Moore, he talks about this thing. He calls it a competitive positioning compass.
Okay.
It's about picking your battles strategically, right?
Right.
So first, you got to identify what he calls the market alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the old way of doing things, the product that your target customer is already using, maybe even begrudgingly.
So if you've, like, I don't know, invented some revolutionary new kind of electric toothbrush, your market alternative is what? Every other toothbrush that's been around for decades?
Exactly. By pointing to those old toothbrushes, you're saying, hey, remember all those frustrations, the tangled cords, the inconsistent cleaning, all that? Well, we solved that. We've got you covered.
Yeah. Okay.
You're framing your innovation as the solution to a problem they already recognize,
So you're giving them that frame of reference, that kind of before picture to your after, right? But aren't you also, like, I don't know, aren't you also kind of running the risk of of making those old solutions seem, well, appealing? Like, maybe people will just stick with what they know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's comfortable, right?
Yeah, and that's where that product alternative comes in.
Yeah.
That's the next piece of the puzzle. This is where you acknowledge the other innovators in the space, the ones who are trying to solve, well, a similar problem, but maybe with a different approach.
So in our toothbrush example, that might be like another electric toothbrush brand, one that's already, gaining some traction. They're already out there doing it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And by acknowledging them, you're validating the need for a new solution. You're saying, look,
Yeah.
yeah, they're onto something. This is the future, but we've got the edge.
Yeah.
You know, you differentiate yourself by emphasizing your niche focus, your unique whole product.
So you're strategically positioning yourself kind of between the old guard and then the new wave, kind of showing how you're both, you know, familiar but also revolutionary.
Right.
Man, this is a mind game. This is amazing. Did he have any like favorite examples of companies that really nailed this balancing act?
He did. He did. He talks about Intuit. Intuit,
Yeah.
the company behind QuickBooks. Yeah.
QuickBooks, yeah, sure. Yeah.
So back then, businesses were either wrestling with this really clunky accounting software, or they were relying on armies of bookkeepers.
Right.
So to it, they strategically positioned themselves as the alternative to both.
So the old guard was like manual bookkeeping, and the new wave was the early but really, really complicated software, right?
Exactly. Intuit came in with this user-friendly software specifically for small businesses. They acknowledged the need for change, but they offered this solution that was, well, it was just less intimidating. It was more aligned with how small businesses they actually operated.
This is great. Okay, so you've got your positioning down, you've crafted that perfect whole product, but I mean none of that matters if you can't actually get your product into the hands of customers. Distribution, that's a whole other beast.
Oh yeah, distribution. It's huge. And it's a critical piece of the puzzle, and it can get real nuanced, especially in today's world. I mean, he talks about all sorts of channels. You've got your direct sales, your retail, your value-added resellers, your partnerships, and the internet. Well, that's just made those choices like
Yeah.
a million times more complex. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's not just about, putting up a website and hoping for the best anymore.
No.
So where do you even start with all these options? How do you even choose?
So he generally recommends starting with a direct sales force, especially when you're first trying to cross the chasm. You need that personal touch, that ability to really educate and build those relationships with those early pragmatist customers.
Yeah, because they're not just buying a product at that point, are they? They're buying into like a whole new way of doing things.
Huh.
And sometimes that takes a little, I don't know, a little hand-holding, a
Absolutely.
little convincing. But direct sales, I mean, that can be really expensive, right?
Yeah.
How do you balance that with the need to be smart about spending, especially as a young company, just starting out?
It's about finding the right balance for sure,
Yeah.
and knowing when to shift gears. Once you've gained some traction in your niche, then you can start exploring those more scalable channels, right? Your retail, your online marketplaces, that sort of thing. But even then, you got to think about how well that channel actually supports your whole product promise.
Right, right. Because if your product requires like ton of hand holding or, customization, a faceless online retailer, that might not cut it. You really need to think about your partners who can really deliver on that personalized experience.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just about getting the product out there. It's about delivering on that entire promise, at every stage of the customer journey. And that actually brings us to another really crucial element here, pricing.
Oh, right, pricing, of course.
It's more than just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, pricing, it's a delicate dance, isn't it? You got to find that sweet spot where you're not undervaluing yourself, but you're also not, scaring away those cost-conscious pragmatists that you're trying to, bring into the fold. It's tricky.
Exactly. And you've also got to factor in the cost of delivering that whole product too.
Yeah.
If you're relying on partners, you need to make sure that you're offering them, margins that incentivize them to go that extra mile for your customers.
So you're thinking about what, profit margins and partner relationships and customer perceptions of value, all while you're trying to, navigate this treacherous chasm. It's a lot. It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom from Moore to kind of help us through this financial tightrope walk?
He emphasizes the importance of realistic financial projections. He says that too many companies they get caught up in the hype, They're promising investors the moon, but they're not really truly understanding the realities of how markets actually adopt new technology.
They're setting themselves up for failure by chasing these hockey stick growth curves that they're just not realistic in those early stages, right?
Exactly, exactly. Moore's advice is basically to just be honest. Be honest with yourself and with your investors about the challenges, and the time frames involved in actually crossing this chasm. It's about building a sustainable business for the long haul, not just chasing those short-term wins.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah, so as you're applying Moore's insights to your own ventures,
Hmm.
ask yourself, am I being realistic about my financial projections? Am I building a business model that can actually withstand the inevitable ups and downs of crossing the chasm? Those are
Yeah.
important questions.
Those are really, really thought-provoking questions, I gotta say.
Right.
And it really seems like avoiding the chasm, it's not just about having that great product, it's about having a great business strategy, one that actually truly aligns with how markets actually work. This deep dive into crossing the chasm it's been eye-opening, I'll say that. I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on what it actually takes to succeed in the tech world.
It's a journey for sure. Crossing the chasm, it's a journey. It's not a sprint, But by understanding those dynamics at play, by carefully crafting that whole product, and by really strategically navigating those really crucial decisions around positioning and distribution and pricing, well, you can really increase your odds of making it to the other side, and building a truly impactful, lasting business.
Words to build a business by.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks for diving into the depths of crossing the chasm with me. I feel like I said, I've leveled up my entrepreneurial skills today. I really appreciate it. This was great.
Absolutely. Anytime. My pleasure.
Awesome. Awesome. Until next time, everyone.